I never imagined I'd find love in a small town after my life fell apart. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun had barely risen, casting pale light through the cracks of my shattered world. I sat on the steps of my old apartment, the air thick with the stench of burnt coffee and regret. My heart pounded, wild and chaotic, like a caged bird desperate to escape. Life had come at me with a wrecking ball, and I was left picking up the pieces of my broken existence. The weight of my loneliness crushed me as I stared at the cracks in the pavement, each one like my own shattered dreams. I had always believed in grand gestures, in love that conquered all. But what did I have left? A phone that went silent. A friend's list that grew shorter each day. A father whose disappointment echoed in my head like a haunting refrain. But there was something magical about the tiny town on the outskirts of my grief. It whispered secrets, wrapped in fog and mystery. The locals spoke in hushed tones about a legenda love so strong it could mend even the most fractured hearts. They said it was found in the depths of the forest where time stood still, where wildflowers bloomed in impossible colors that defied logic. They warned about the shadows that lurked there too, shadows that were rumored to steal courage from the weak. I shivered at the thought, my mind racing with possibilities. One stormy night, against my better judgment, I followed those tales deeper into the forest. The trees loomed tall and wild, their gnarled roots twisting like fingers reaching into the earth, a reminder of what I had lost. Thunder rumbled, shaking the air around me, sending chills down my spine. Each heartbeat echoed in my ears, a frantic reminder I was alive. Suddenly, a low growl broke the ominous silence, sending a jolt through my weary body. My breath hitched as I squinted into the shadows. Was it my imagination? Or was something truly lurking? I stumbled back, my heart racing. Just then, a flash of light caught my eye, a flicker of something bright and inviting amongst the darkness. Hope surged within me, igniting a small fire against the fear. What if this was the beginning of something new? What if I could find that legendary love, the one that could erase the sting of heartbreak? But then the growl came again, louder this time, a warning wrapped in a shroud of uncertainty. I turned, ready to flee, but my legs felt heavy, grounded by the allure of the unknown. Was love worth the risk? Would I be brave enough to face whatever lay within those darkened woods? My breath caught in my throat. What waited for me in the shadows? Was it love or despair? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The shadows shifted and swayed around me, a dance of uncertainty that gnawed at my courage. Just as I was about to retreat, a figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette against the faint glow of what looked like a lantern flickering in the midst of the trees. The tightening in my chest loosened slightly as the figure stepped closer. Are you lost? The voice was soft yet commanding, rounding off the edges of my fear. It was a woman, her hair cascading like dark waves over her shoulders, and her eyes shimmered with the light of the lantern. Here in the specter of the forest, she felt somehow ethereal. I stammered, words fumbling in my throat like errant leaves on the wind. I don't know. I'm searching for something. Her gaze softened, letting a hint of understanding seep through the fear encapsulating my heart. I think we all are. She stepped closer, the warmth of the lantern casting a golden hue that created a semblance of safety against the encroaching darkness. What do you seek? She asked, tilting her head slightly, as if the question was written on the leaves that rustled around us. I thought maybe love? The admission came out smaller than I intended, laced with lingering doubt and vulnerability. The forest held its breath, the shadows retreating a fraction as if anticipating her response. Love? She repeated, and a smile unfurled on her lips, illuminating her face. It's a fickle thing, is it not? Often it's buried deeper than we think. There was a mirthful, yet wistful quality to her tone that struck a chord within me. My breath steadied, intrigued by her words. Are you seeking love as well? I ventured, uncertain if the question was appropriate, but the curiosity spilled over, pushing back against the confines of my storm-clouded heart. Not love in the way you think, she replied, her gaze drifting past me to the depths of the forest. But connection, understanding, something genuine that isn't tainted with expectations. Her response echoed in the hollow chambers of my heart, tugging at the shards of hope scattered within me. Perhaps she was right, love was often burdened with its own weighty expectations, but connection, true connection, could pave the way to something that felt lighter. As we stood beneath the canopy of trees, the rain that had threatened earlier began to fall. It drizzled softly at first, then built into a rhythm that signed a tune of release, washing away some of the fears clinging to my heart like cobwebs. I had once feared the rain as it mirrored the tears shed over my past, but now, in this moment, it felt like a cleansing, an opportunity to start anew. Come, she said, beckoning me with that inviting smile as she turned and led the way deeper into the forest. The lantern glowed brighter, illuminating paths that had long been shrouded in myth and shadow. I followed her, curiosity bolstered by a flicker of hope that danced wildly within as we walked. She shared her own stories of heartache and failure, each one a testament to how life could break us, only to reveal the strength nestled inside the cracks. Her words resonated as I absorbed the lessons within them. It was as if she were digging a well of connection between us, one that ignited a small flame of understanding in the cold recesses of my heart. But the forest held its own secrets, and with each step forward, the shadows thickened. There was a lurking sense of foreboding as I caught glimpses of dark shapes shifting just out of sight, a reminder of the shadows that sought to steal the light from within. Each growl that echoed back felt closer now, the air thick with an unsettling tension that was impossible to ignore. What are those? I whispered, glancing nervously behind us. She paused, her expression turning serious. Curiosity can be dangerous in these woods. Some shadows seek to snuff out the light of joy. But remember, courage can shine even in the darkest places. Just as she finished speaking, a soft rustle came from behind a nearby tree. I turned to look, my heart racing. Was it simply the wind, or something truly waiting to pounce? In that moment, I felt that life had a way of testing our resolve, revealing both the risk of despair and the beauty of hope. My heart thudded, insistent yet cautious. This journey into the woods symbolizing more than just a search for love, but a journey toward healing, connection, and perhaps something dangerously beautiful. But as I took a breath, preparing to face whatever was hiding in the shadows, the light flickered, the lantern dimming as if facing a threat of its own. In that split second, I knew fear was not the only darkness that lurked ahead. We were on the cusp of something profound, a revelation of both joy and sorrow. And then, just as the lantern faded, a figure darted out from behind the trees, eyes glowing with a feral hunger. It was cloaked in shadow, and the growl resonated through the woods, a primal sound that shattered the heartbeat of hope I had built within. Run, she shouted, and with that command, the forest erupted into chaos as shadows surged toward us like a tidal wave. Would I choose to face the fear or flee from the connection I so desperately craved? The choice unfurled before me like the myriad paths of the forest, each turning filled with possibilities, harsh realities, and an unknown destiny pressing upon my fractured heart. As we sprinted deeper into the underbrush, my breath hitched with terror, a fierce pulse pounding in my ears. The woman, whose name still eluded me amidst the chaos, grasped my hand tightly, her grip a lifeline amidst the panic. Despite the fear coursing through my veins, I felt a flicker of warmth radiate from our connection, an anchor to hold onto as the shadows lurked just beyond the periphery of vision. Over there, she shouted, pointing to a dilapidated cabin that loomed like a forgotten guardian amid the trees. We can take shelter inside. I nodded, urging my legs to push harder, the branches clawing at my arms and face as we rushed toward the cabin. The growl behind us intensified, a guttural reminder of the menace hot on our heels. Just as we reached the door, a monstrous howl sliced through the air, and I winced, pulling the woman inside with me just in time. Inside, the cabin felt like a tomb, the air thick with dust and the musty scent of neglect. We stumbled into the dim light filtering through cracked windows, my heart racing as we pressed ourselves against the heavy wooden door. I could hear the sounds of the forest trembling outside, the ominous rustle of darkness threatening to overtake us. What was that? I gasped, trying to wrap my mind around the frantic beat of my heart. She took a deep breath, her eyes locking onto mine as the lantern's glow sputtered, revealing fear intermingled with resolve. Shadows come in many forms. Sometimes they are our own fears, other times they take on a life of their own. Her voice softened, an intimacy blossoming amidst the terror. But we must not let them pull us under. Outside, the growling grew louder, colliding like a storm against the fragile walls of our sanctuary. I remembered my quest for love, the hope I had clung to, but now it felt obscured by the shadows. How can we fight it? I whispered, my confidence dwindling with each growl. Not with rage, she replied, leaning closer, her breath warm against my cheek, but with understanding. Fear breathes life into shadows, and love breathes light. We must connect with what we feel, share our stories. Her gaze pierced me, illuminating the darker corners of my heart. What are you afraid of? As her question lingered in the air, a tempest of vulnerability crashed within me. I'm afraid of losing hope, I confessed, the trembling of my voice betraying the tremors of my heart. After everything that's happened, it feels impossible to believe in love again. She nodded, and for a moment, we were suspended between safety and danger, united by the weight of unspoken words. But we are here, together, she reminded softly. Even in the darkest moments, the light of connection can push through. I could sense a shift within me. Her presence sparked something long extinguished. I felt a strange comfort in her faith, and in return, I leaned closer, seeking solace in the warmth of our shared fears. But just as I began to grasp the flicker of hope, the cabin trembled beneath the force of relentless pounding on the door. The shadows were relentless and unyielding. They had tasted fear, and they craved more. Our fragile moment of connection was abruptly shattered by a thunderous roar that echoed around us, sending chills cascading down my spine. In desperation, I glanced towards a dusty window, a thin veil separating us from the shadows. What do we do now? I asked, panic edging my voice. Trust in each other, she replied, determination blazing in her eyes. We'll carve our own path through this darkness. I held her gaze, feeling an inexplicable bond forming, one that could perhaps guide us through the chaos surrounding us without warning. A crash shattered the peace. A shadow burst through the door, a dark mass of fangs and fur that lunged toward us. We moved instinctively, dodging left as the creature collided with the wall, splintering wood and sending splinters flying. I never imagined I'd find love in this small cabin amidst chaos. I breathed, adrenaline coursing through me. My heart raced not just with fear but with a sense of singular focus. The realization that I was not merely escaping. I was fighting for something. I was fighting for connection. The woman's eyes widened, and she nodded fiercely. Then let's not stop now. With that, we instinctively found ourselves working as a team, seizing the odds stacked heavily against us. As the shadows writhed and more figures lunged toward us, I knew this would be a clash between darkness and the flickering flame of our courage, and despite the chaos, I felt the binding thread of connection grow stronger, intertwining our hopes and fears. But with every growl, every lunging shadow threatening to consume the light we fought for, the realization struck me deep. What if this bond one felt was not merely friendship, or a fleeting moment amidst calamity? What if it was something far more dangerous than I had ever allowed myself to believe? As we braced for the next wave of shadows, I understood, with chilling clarity, the true test was not just facing the monsters outside, but confronting the demons within that stood between my heart and the love I had yearned for. And as the shadows collided around us, a haunting question echoed in my mind. Was I ready to choose love even when it came shrouded in darkness? The growls intensified, reverberating through the cabin like a violent symphony, merging with my pounding heart. wood splintered and creaked ominously as I struggled to push the heavy door shut, panic flooding my veins. The woman held her ground beside me, her expression fierce and unwavering. "We have to barricade it," she shouted over the cacophony, urgency sweeping through her words as she slammed her shoulder against the door, pushing against the force of the beast on the other side. I didn't hesitate. Grabbing the nearest rotted table leg, I joined her, wedging it against the door. For a moment, fear was drowned in focus. Our shared mission ignited a spirit of resilience within me, the flicker of hope she had ignited steadying my trembling hands. But as I locked eyes with her again, the brightness in her gaze clashed with the heaviness looming in the space between us. "Where are they coming from?" I panted, straining with every ounce of strength to keep the door shut. "What are we facing?" "They are manifestations of our fears, each one stronger than the last," she replied, breathless but resolute. "We cannot let them in. Stand firm." But even as we fought against the mounting darkness, a creeping sense of dread coiled around my heart. This was more than just a physical battle. It was a startling confrontation with everything I had buried: my failures, my insecurities, the shattered remnants of love I thought I could never allow myself to feel again. As the shadows clawed relentlessly at the door, the cabin erupted in chaos, the torrent of growls punctuated with moments of silence that gnawed at my resolve. Each lull felt like a deceptive invitation, tempting me to surrender to despair. "Tell me about your fear," she urged suddenly, her voice cutting through the turmoil, drawn closer as the door creaked under pressure. "Can't hurt you if it's out in the open." Fear? The word felt foreign on my tongue, heavy and encumbered by years of silence. "I'm afraid of being vulnerable, of loving again and losing everything like I did before. That connection scares me as much as it comforts me." Her eyes softened, understanding washing over her features like a gentle wave. "Vulnerability is strength, not weakness. It's what makes us human. And love, it's worth fighting for." The deeply held truth in her words resonated, traveling through the tumult within me. How had I come to find solace in this moment with her? With every ferocious blow the shadows launched against us, her faith in me mirrored my burgeoning resolve. But deeper emotional questions scrambled through my mind like thorny vines. What if I let this bond grow, only to face the monsters of heartbreak again? Was I prepared to risk it all, only to lose it again to the endless darkness? The door shuddered violently, and I braced against it with renewed vigor, desperate to hold my ground. "What if I fail you? What if I lose you?" I managed to plead through gritted teeth, the weight of my own vulnerability spilling into the cracks of the chaos. Her grip tightened, a flicker of comfort in the storm. "We will not fail each other. We are stronger together. Can't you feel it? Love thrives in the shadows, in our fears. We can emerge together if we open our hearts." But there was something unresolved in me, a flicker of uncertainty wrapped tightly around the burgeoning connection. The corner of my mind was churning with the ghost of my past, the faces of those I'd lost, the love I'd witnessed transform into sorrow. The part of me that wanted to fight for this connection battled with the part that wanted to guard against it, shield my heart from the inevitability of loss. Then, as if sensing my hesitation, the creature charged again, shattering the moment of intimacy. The heavy door burst open, and in poured a slew of shadows, twisting and morphing like a dark tide, ready to overwhelm us. We stumbled backward, the cabin enveloped in chaos as I reached for her hand, desperate to reclaim our connection, our shared resolve. "We can do this. I believe in us," I yelled, a battle cry propelled by sheer will. And in that fleeting heartbeat before the shadows surged, I saw a spark in her eyes, undeniable hope, binding us against the encroaching darkness. But just as we steadied ourselves to push back together, the shadows lunged, and in the fray of fur and chaos, I felt a sharp tug at my heart, deeper than fear, a sensation that felt like betrayal. And that dizzying moment, as I grappled with the reality of the shadows' onslaught, the truth unraveled within me, leaving me exposed. I had rushed to find love and connection to evade loneliness, yet I stood on the precipice of understanding. I was petrified not merely of love but of its power to strip me bare, leaving me vulnerable in a way that could shatter me anew. Darkness swallowed the cabin in that throbbing moment, shadows darting around us in a luminous haze, and as the weight of dread expanded, a thought broke through the realization that I hadn't just lost the chance for love, but also the most critical part of myself. The question lingered, pulsating with uncertainty. Could love bloom even in the face of darkness, even when every fiber of my being screamed to resist its pull? And just as I grasped that gut-wrenching truth, the shadows encircled us, ensnaring my thoughts like a vice. A deafening roar rising up in the air, the answer hung just beyond reach, a tether fraying in the chaos. The chaos erupted around us, the shadows swirling in a whirlwind of darkness, disorienting and relentless. I felt my heart race, blood thundering in my ears as the creatures sought to consume every trace of light within the cabin. The flicker of my newfound hope clashed violently with the encroaching dread, leaving me breathless and trembling. "Close your eyes," she shouted, pulling me deeper into the eye of the storm. "Confront them. Don't let fear take hold." With one final shudder, the door cracked open completely, collapsing against the frame in a splintering frenzy. The darkness surged in, and I braced myself for the tidal wave. The heart of the creature struck me like a lightning bolt, a fierce pulse rippling through my veins. I staggered as visions flooded my mind, thoughts of past failures, the sweet warmth of love lost, the haunting ghost of my mother's smile, and the cruel betrayal of abandonment. But then, amid the chaos, I glimpsed her face, illuminated by an ethereal light that seemed to pulse from our entwined hands. The connection we forged in the face of despair became my anchor amidst the storm, grounding me in this tumultuous fight for survival. "Remember what you fear most," she urged, her voice a steady beacon in the tumult. Each growl morphed into a confession, every shadow a biting reminder of my vulnerability. As the darkness clawed at me, I recognized the gnawing fear of loss, the ultimate shackle that had bound me through years of withdrawal. Just as I was about to surrender to the myriad of emotions drumming relentlessly in my heart, something unexpected broke through. It was a whisper of nostalgia, a remembrance of bittersweet moments, of quiet laughter, shared dreams, and glimpses of a future that shimmered like a mirage in the distance. A feral growl surged from the shadows, launching another attack, and I could feel the grip of despair tightening around my chest, threatening to suffocate me. But as I locked eyes with her, I realized I was not alone in this confrontation. She was right beside me, fighting her own demons. "Tell me your story," I urged, my voice raw with desperation, forcing myself to shift focus from my turmoil to hers. "What haunts you?" Her brow furrowed, determination shining in her eyes, yet vulnerability lay beneath the surface. "My fear is feeling inadequate, never living up to those I love. I lost my sister to this sickness of fear, and I spent years thinking I should have done something. I let the despair consume me, locking myself away." Each word hung in the air, like a sacred offering she dared to share amidst the chaos. I felt a swell of compassion, a spark ignited from sharing our heavy burdens. The shadows snarled, but in this shift of focus, I caught a glimpse of solidarity, a promise that in revealing our fears, we reclaimed our strength. "We can forgive ourselves. We can break the cycle," I urged fiercely, an impassioned fire surging within me. "Let's not let them win." And as I shouted, the shadows quaked in response. There was power in our voices, a cathartic purge of essence that echoed through the very marrow of our being. The creatures hesitated, momentarily stunned by the strength of our shared vulnerability. And in that fleeting moment, the weight of despair lifted slightly, a lightness broke through the dread. But then, as if emboldened by our defiance, the shadows surged forward, faster and hungrier, swirling wildly to consume us whole once again. A visceral instinct kicked in, and I locked my gaze with hers, urgency prompting me to try. "Hold on," I pleaded, weaving a thread of hope through my words. "Let's push back together." The two of us pulled against the tide, our joined strength mingling like twin flames resisting the storm. The darkness crackled as we poured our fears into that tether of connection, our determination weaving between us a veil of light, a fragile shield pushed into the depths of the shadowy mass. But just as it seemed we'd gained ground, a new terror invaded the battle. A piercing scream resonated in the distance, haunting and familiar. pierced through the chaotic veil we were fighting, and though its source remained elusive, it sent a shiver racing down my spine. "It can't be," I breathed, a sickening dread overtaking me as the shadows retreated momentarily, leaving behind an echoing promise of more torment to come. "Stay with me," she whispered in urgent desperation, her voice firm despite the overwhelming fear creeping in. "Don't let it take you." As the shadows oscillated, I faced a mind-numbing reality. The scream sounded like someone I had loved, someone whose absence loomed like a specter. The weight of loss bore down on my heart, and I felt the achingly familiar pang of fear and despair returning, woven tightly with the prospect that all I had fought for could be lost in an instant. But in the thick of that gut-wrenching realization, my fear collided with the fragile hope I began to nurture. I had loved once and suffered a terrible fate, and now the specter of that loss threatened to pull me back into the dark. Together, I cried out, desperation and determination coursing through my veins. "We cannot let them win." Her hand tightened around mine, and though I felt terror grip my heart, in that moment, I recognized an unwavering resolve. Could I really confront my past, unearth the pain entwined with love lost, and still emerge whole? The shadows lurked, waiting for a weakness, but if I was to combat my fears, it would have to be with her by my side. Our connection must hold strong amidst the chaos, but just as I steadied my resolve, the shadows began to pulse with raw energy, and the haunting scream morphed into whispers that echoed through my mind, a chilling reminder that love is often accompanied by loss. The cabin trembled, darkness and uncertainty spiraling as I faced an agonizing decision. Was it worth risking the connection we forged to confront the horrors of my past, or would the encroaching shadows swallow my heart whole once more? The cabin quaked beneath my feet, the stifling darkness clawing at the edges of my sanity. "I'm not afraid," I murmured, yet the tremor in my voice betrayed me. The shadows swirled, rearing like wild beasts, but even as I spoke, the haunting echoes of that scream reverberated through my mind, threatening to unravel the fragile threads of courage I had worked so hard to spin. "Focus," she urged, her grip tightening around mine, her warmth a steadfast reminder that I wasn't alone. The flicker of determination in her eyes was a beacon amid the swirling despair, but as I locked eyes with her, all I could think of was how quickly I could lose her, how swiftly the darkness could snatch happiness away again. "What if we fail?" I asked, my voice barely escaping my throat. I didn't recognize the vulnerability spilling forth, but it was there, raw and honest, bleeding with every chance I took to embrace my fears. "What if we can't hold on?" Her expression softened, yet the shadows tightened their grip, merging and contorting around us, taunting our fears. "It doesn't matter how many times we fall, only that we rise again." The shadows hesitated for a moment, torn between our heartfelt exchange and the hunger to consume all semblance of hope. Recognizing that spark ignited my resolve. I could not afford to dwell on what might come if I lost her. I had to staunch the flow of dread that threatened to drown me in its icy river. "Then we'll rise," I declared, shaking off the cold fingers of despair as I tilted my chin upward. Together. With those words, a surge of warmth erupted within me, filling the hollow void that had opened inside since that scream pierced my heart. It felt shimmering, ephemeral, illusory even, but it was there igniting the flicker of hope stowed deep within my chest. As we locked our gaze, the future unfolded like an uncharted map in front of us, each route unknown yet brimming with possibility. As we faced the encroaching shadows, I felt her heartbeat synchronize with Minea's steady metronome against the chaos. We were not just battling the beasts before us. We were waging a war against the weight of our fears, and right there, between us, lay the potential for healing. But just as our resolve surged, the ground trembled beneath us. The darkness roared in anticipation, twisting into monstrous forms that clawed at the edges of our shared light. The shadows shifted, morphing into something more tangible, more familiar memories twined with faces I had thought I would never see again. "Mom?" I gasped as a specter emerged from the darkness, arms outstretched in pleading. "No, this can't be real." "Fight it," she urged, her voice robust despite the panic riling in her chest. "Don't let it deceive you." but the mirage felt achingly familiar, the warmth of a forgotten embrace, the scent of lilacs that enveloped me like a long-lost lullaby. Temptation washed over me, and for a fleeting moment, a memory surfaced. The last time I had heard my mother laugh through the chaos of life, the comfort of an unyielding love that had once cradled me gently. "Please don't go," the vision of her pleaded, anguish etching her beautiful features, and my heart twisted painfully with longing. "You mustn't be alone. Fight it," she urged again, her voice resolute, and with those words, it broke the spell, grounding me again in the tumultuous reality of this battle. This was not my mother, it was an embodiment of my fears, my guilt, and all the unhealed wounds I had tucked away. "No, I won't get lost in your illusions," I shouted, forcing every bit of strength I could muster into those words. "I have to let you go." With that declaration, the spectral vision shimmered, dissolving into 1,000 motes of darkness, snatched back into the void from which it originated. I could feel my heart crack open, exposing the pulsing ache of loss that had sewn my life together thus far, a fear of abandonment and heartbreak that had crippled me for far too long. Yet from the remnants of anguish, the warmth of her presence ignited something, a flicker of belief that grew brighter against the encroaching shadows. "You are not alone," she murmured, drawing close. "Every step you take is a victory over your past. We can rewrite our stories." With those words echoed within the space where grief lay, the shadows seemed momentarily weakened, swirling back in confusion at our combined force. I pressed deeper into the connection we forged, letting it guide me as I simultaneously grasped for the threads of my memories, the love, the loss, the laughter. All were pieces of the puzzle I thought I'd lost. But a sinister growl snatched that moment from me, breaking through the lingering haze. The darkness crystallized around us again, and I felt a new, unnerving presence stirring. The air thickened with a feverish weight, and as I turned, I could barely understand the horror unfolding before me, a figure cloaked in shadow, emerging from the depths like a long-forgotten ghost of my past. "Face your truth," it hissed, the voice familiar and foreign, echoing like a bell through time, each word a promise of anguish I had once believed forgotten. "Don't be afraid," she whispered beside me, her voice barely concealing the tremor. "We'll confront it together." "Will we?" I questioned, terror gripping my heart as the figure took a step forward, the shadows encompassing it pulsating with life. "Can we bear the weight of what's to come?" In this moment of swirling chaos and uncertainty, my heart ached with the creeping knowledge that every revelation meant more than simply facing my past. It meant risking all I had come to hold dear. I dared not look away as the figure leaned closer, and I read the familiar contours of a face I both longed for and feared, the answer to questions that had haunted me all these years. "Ready yourself," she said, squeezing my hand tighter, the warmth of her determination clashing valiantly against the shifting dread. "We can't turn back now." Yet just as the last words left her lips, the figure's haunting gaze bore into mine, and a revelation surged. It held the key to secrets I had buried and fears I had thought long gone. And in that moment of eye contact, a cold realization washed over me. This entity wasn't just a piece of my past, it was a glimpse of my future. "Stay close," I whispered, my heart racing with overwhelming fear and hope intertwined, as the shadows around us pulsated like living beings, waiting for me to acknowledge the entirety of my truth with my love beside me. Would I embrace the darkness or succumb to it? The shadows tightened their grip, twisting into a nightmarish realm, while the figure loomed closer, its silhouette merging with the horrors that chased me through the recesses of my mind. I felt like a lone ship navigating stormy seas, every swell teetering on the brink of capsizing. Yet there she was, unwavering beside me, anchor against the tide of despair. "Step into the light," the figure beckoned, its voice saturated with both familiarity and dread. I fought the urge to yield to its pull. Every instinct screamed for me to turn away. "You cannot outrun what you truly are." "What are you?" I shouted, frustration spilling over as I grasped for clarity in the chaos. "Why do you haunt me?" The figure tilted its head, the shadows reforming around it like a dark veil. In that moment, a flicker of recognition ignited deep in my chest, a longing almost unbearable. Remember, it implored, the days you buried? The joys you let slip away? Memories erupted like fireflies against the night, illuminating fragments of laughter intertwined with heartache. I recalled the summer days spent chasing fireflies with friends, the triumphant feeling of love blooming in stolen glances, and the moments of unyielding warmth when my mother held me after life's storms. But a pervasive shroud of fear hung over them, the darkness of abandonment, of never feeling safe enough to hope. Let go of the past, my dear, the figure continued, its voice morphing into a comforting cadence, sweet yet tinged with sorrow. In your attempts to shield yourself, you've locked away the very essence that makes you alive. The love you seek lies within it, always has. No. I shouted defiantly, drawing strength from her hand that gripped mine like a lifeline. I refuse to let you define me, to drag me down into shadows. I have love in my life now, and I won't lose it. At my words, the shadows shivered, torn between the love I claimed and the fear that intertwined so intricately with my past. Yet uncertainty coursed through me like poison. Had I truly moved on, or was I prolonging the inevitable battle? Your love is fragile, the figure cooed, almost soothingly, as if trying to pluck at the strings of my heart. It's a flicker that can be extinguished. But I can show you the truth, who you truly are. The darkness can be embraced. Acknowledge the shadows. They can bring you strength. That I felt the tremors beneath my skin, shivering under the weight of the unbidden comfort in its words. I didn't want to acknowledge the parts of myself that hurt, that craved acceptance, the remnants of a life that felt far too broken to piece together. Don't listen, she implored urgently, her voice penetrating my daze. You are so much more than the shadows think. You are light. You chose to rise, to reconnect. Her belief resonated like an echo in my mind. It was the reminder I needed amid the chaos, the flicker of light against the encroaching dark. You're right, I said, newfound determination blooming within me. I will not let you dictate my fate. I refuse to be a prisoner of my past. The figure recoiled, its darkness swirling voraciously as if destabilized by my defiance. Then you are truly brave, it hissed, the sound reverberating off the cabin walls like the crack of thunder. But bravery can bring pain. Are you prepared for the truth? With those words, the shadows coalesced into blinding brilliance, an illumination soft yet potent that enveloped me in a wave of warmth, pulling me in every direction. As my heart raced, the memories poured forth in a deluge, both joyous and devastating. Hold on, she urged, gripping me tighter as we spiraled into an abyss of light and shadow, intertwined in an unbreakable bond. I let the memories wash over me, moments of laughter soaked in long nights filled with tears, love that broke me and patched me back together. It was my life, the dichotomy of existence I had hidden within. Let me in, the figure pleaded, its voice a symphony wrapped in longing, and I shall show you the path to the harmony you seek. Then, hovering before me were truths I had buried since childhood, insecurities, woven into the fabric of who I had become. Yet with her by my side, a calming force amidst the storm, I slowly began to unravel the layers that chained me. I embraced my past, I declared with a deep breath, readying for what lay ahead. It doesn't control me, it shapes my story. I will rewrite the narrative. As the last words hung in the air, something shifted, the figure's demeanor softened, images swirling like smoke until a familiar face loomed in the center of the chaos. It was the essence of Love Me Mother, her eyes shimmering like stars gone too soon, reminding me of home, solace, and hope. But just as the swell of emotion surged, the figure barked out laughter, twisting into something menacing. You think you find truth in acceptance? The journey is only beginning. And as the laughter echoed into the void, I felt the ground beneath me tremble, not with fear, but with the rise of unresolved questions threatening to upend everything I thought I understood. What do you mean? I whispered, anguish spilling into my voice, my heart pounding relentlessly against my ribcage. Something awaits you, it croaked through the chaos, shadows melding into a conundrum before rippling out into 1,000 fragments, hints of future encounters looming in the dark. Time does not stand still. The figure faded, leaving behind a whisper that rustled through the fringes of the room, mixing with the echoes of my past and present. In that moment, Uncertainty hung thick in the air, a realization that I hadn't just battled the darkness. I had uncovered the depths of my fears and a web of secrets beyond my comprehension. "Keep your faith strong," she breathed softly beside me, her voice steady amidst the tumult. "We will find our way, whatever may come." Yet even as I clung to that hope, dread pooled low in my gut, undercurrents of impossible revelations lingering like shadows just out of reach. I could feel a weight on the horizon, an unspoken truth bridging the gap between love and fear. And as I turned, ready to embrace what lay ahead, the room fell silent, the shadows whispering their secrets, the darkness they knew something I did not. "Prepare," I heard them murmur, "for the truth will carve its way through love." I blinked, the remnants of the vision fading like morning fog. Everything around me felt unbearably quiet. The pulsating energy that had surrounded me now dulled into an unsettling stillness. I rubbed my eyes, trying to comprehend the weight of my emotions, the tempest of pain and hope swirling within. A part of me wondered if I could ever be free of the shadows, the insistent reminders of what trauma and grief could cost. "Where are we?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. She stood beside me, her presence grounding and bright. "I think we're in your heart," she replied, glancing cautiously around the room, now suffused with an ethereal light that felt both inviting and eerily deceptive. "I feel so lost." The admission broke like a wave against the shore, raw and unfiltered. Every path I thought I'd chosen suddenly feels left untraveled, and I can't shake the feeling that something is still waiting to unravel. She turned to face me fully, her gaze steady and filled with compassion. "It's okay to feel lost. It only means you're alive. You're searching for something greater. It's part of growth." I breathed deeply, pulling from her resolve. "But what if I'm meant to stay lost? What if I never find my way?" Her expression softened. "Then we'll navigate it together. You don't have to face the darkness alone." A flicker of comfort threaded through my heart, yet unease lurked at the edges. If we continued to face the shadows, that unveiled truth loomed before us like a predator, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Maybe there's a reason for the uncertainty," I mumbled, memories of lost connections buzzing in my mind like restless bees. "Maybe there's something more lurking beneath the surface that I haven't yet uncovered." "Don't let fear overshadow your heart," she urged. "Trust that you can carry the light even into the most daunting places." Taking her hand in mine, I felt an unspoken bond. It was a pact to delve deeper into hidden truths even if it terrified me. Still, dread quivered in my chest like trapped birds, pleading for release. Hoping to quell it, I wrapped her fingers tighter in my grasp. Just then, a faint sound danced through the air, an almost musical whisper that carried undertones of familiarity. A soft melody played, echoing softly like a distant lullaby, sending ripples through my awareness. "What is that?" I asked, searching the space. "It sounds like your memories," she mused, her eyes alight with understanding. "It's the essence of your past, calling you to listen closely." As the notes intertwined, images flickered back to life before me. Moments I had long tucked away, the warmth of balmy evenings spent gathered with old friends, laughter weaving in and out like a gentle breeze, the evenings filled with tender confessions shared under starry skies. Each note painted a picture of what love and connection once felt like before the storm swept it all away. But amidst those echoes came darker strains, a portrait of an argument that spiraled out of control, a heart-wrenching farewell, a parting that left scars deeper than my naivety could comprehend. "I can't go back to that," I gasped, clenching her hand tighter. "It's haunting me, the fear of reopening wounds I thought I could forget. Yet confronting those wounds might be the only way to find your strength," she encouraged, gentle yet firm. "What if, instead of running from the pain, you faced it head-on? What if healing lies within the memory?" The call of the melody grew stronger, and despite every hesitation, I felt a surge of resolve blossoming within. "You're right. I need to face the music, not just in the past, but in the present, to make sense of this journey." But as the echoing tune enveloped me, a wave of uncertainty rushed back in, washing over me like a rising tide. Am I strong enough? Do I truly want to remember the tears and heartaches only because they might illuminate a path toward healing? With a trembling heart, I closed my eyes, leaning into her with every ounce of trust one had left. There, in the depths of melody and memory, something unexpected happened. A vibrant thread emerged, a light, woven into the past that shimmered with hope. A revelation began to surface, an inkling of connection lost in the haze of pain. Maybe, just maybe, love didn't have to be a fleeting whisper. It could be a resounding truth. "Will you walk with me on this journey?" I asked, my voice laden with unease and anticipation. "Will you explore what we uncover together?" "Always," she replied, and her conviction solidified my resolve. "Remember, the revelations may be daunting, but they can also lead to something more, maybe a way to finally break free from the shadows." With that, I nodded, acknowledging the homeward-bound path we were about to embrace. And just before the melody crescendoed, a haunting realization paused me in my tracks. The memories ultimately lead back to that pivotal day, the last time I had said goodbye to someone. Someone who once bound my heart like no other, whose departure now felt like the cornerstone of my lingering despair. "Wait," I whispered, dread knotting in my stomach. What if unraveling this truth means having to confront my deepest regret? What if I have to revisit that moment and him? I felt her hand squeeze mine, sending warmth through the chill of my fear. "Then we face it together. You don't have to bear that burden alone," she reminded me. But the shadows danced again, swirling dangerously close, their whispers now thick with foreboding as the past began to reveal itself once more. I could no longer escape the inevitable confrontation. Can I handle the truth waiting for me? I wondered aloud, but even as the questions tumbled, I felt an undeniable pull toward it, laced with trepidation and the flicker of hope. And as the haunting melody reached its zenith, a revelation dawned upon me, intertwining the essence of love and loss like threads in a tapestry. An image crystallized in my mind, and with it, the world around me started to blur. "He's not gone, he's here." The voice rang clear as I realized somewhere along this twist of fate, love was still entangled in my memories, and it beckoned me to discover its legacy. Yet, before the truth could unfurl its wings, shadows deepened, and a figure, the silhouette of my heartbreak, loomed in the distance, as if ready to reclaim its hollow dominion. The wind whistled a warning, and my heart raced as uncertainty flared within me. Would I have the courage to face the love I thought lost forever? Or would fear pull me back into the shadows once more? The shadows danced around me, pulsating with the heartbeat of my uncertainty. I could hardly see the figure through the tightening fog, but I sensed an unmistakable essence, one that lingered like the last whisper of a sweet memory. My heart fluttered as fear intertwined with an unstoppable desire to reclaim what was lost, a feeling that had once filled my world with light. "What if it's not him?" I breathed, the words slipping from my lips as a fresh wave of doubt crashed over me. What if it's just a trick of my mind? My yearning twisting reality into a cruel caricature? She was silent beside me, understanding undulating between us. The air thickened with anticipation, and I stared into the obscurity, desperate for clarity. I can't just dive headfirst into this without knowing who it is, what it means. "We can only find out by stepping forward," she said softly, her voice steady despite the chaos unfurling within me. "Remember, whatever lies ahead can no longer hurt you in the same way it once did. You have grown. You're not the person you were then." With a shuddering breath, I began to take tentative steps toward the figure. Shadows shifted, and with each heartbeat, the fog cleared just enough to reveal the silhouette, a familiar stance, shoulders steady, yet a world of forgotten pain lingered beneath the surface. "Do you recognize him?" she asked, sensing the tremor running through me as the figure finally materialized. "Michael." Time played a cruel trick as I stood frozen, the melody of distant memories rushing around me like wind whipping through branches. "Michael," I whispered, each syllable heavy with a mix of yearning and dread. His name tasted of sweetness and sorrow, a cauldron of emotions bubbling over inside me. "You're the one I've been afraid to face," I finally managed, feeling threads of remorse braid around my heart. How could I have thought I could forget? He took a cautious step closer, his expression a fragile mixture of hope and apprehension, an ethereal connection clinging like mist. "I came back to find you," he breathed, the tremor in his voice sending shockwaves through my memory. Find me? I echoed, heart thudding like a relentless drum. After all this time, why now? Because sometimes, the path back to love is paved with the ruins of what we lost. He replied quietly, pain lacing his words. I thought I could walk away, but I've carried the weight of our unfinished story, and I had to come home. A wave of fragmented emotions crashed over mellow fought against fear in a tumultuous dance, surfacing all the unsaid words, all the apologies lodged within the fortress of my heart. But I didn't want to look back. I thought you were gone, that I had lost my chance at happiness. We both ran, didn't we? He offered a faint smile, but his eyes were deep wells of sadness and unspoken truths. But some things linger, even in silence. Some things don't fade. He exhaled heavily. I'm here, and I need to know if you're still with me, if you're ready to navigate through the shadows together. My heart labored under the weight of his answer, as uncertainty carved deep lines in my resolve. But what if it's too late? What if we aren't the same people anymore? Maybe we're not, he admitted, but we owe it to ourselves to try, to face the darkness and the light alike. For a moment, everything stilled, except for the melody curling around us like a forgotten bomb. It soothed the wounds I didn't realize were still raw, whispering a promise, a flicker of hope igniting within my chest. What if we're not fighting ghosts? What if we're trying to rebuild something beautiful? Yet just as my fear began to wane, a shadow flickered over Michael's face, a fleeting reflection of despair. But what about the pain? Are we prepared to confront what drove us apart in the first place? Can we truly heal? His vulnerability drew me in further, putting into focus how much both of us had suffered. I thought I couldn't bear the truth of our ending, I murmured. But in this moment, my longing to try surged back like spring after a long winter. Maybe uncovering it means finally letting go of the guilt that has held me captive. He stepped closer, his eyes piercing through the wreckage of my heart. If we're gonna find our way back, let's take it one step at a time. No pressure, just honesty. Together. But as I reached out, uncertainty clouded my mind once more. And what if I fall apart again? What if I can't handle the truth of our past? His hand enveloped mine, warmth igniting a flicker of courage. They'll be here no matter how messy it gets. We'll navigate it together. A silence hung heavy between us, the moments stretching, filled with unspoken truths and buried dreams. And just as the threads of hope began to weave between us, a deafening crack split the air, a visceral reminder of how fragile our new beginning could be. The ground shook beneath my feet as a looming shadow rippled in the distance, morphing into a figure steeped in darkness and familiar pain. What have you done? It jeered, waves of bitterness washing over the moment. The voice was clear yet unrecognizable, yet its presence felt akin to the very grief that held me captive for so long. Before I could react, I felt a familiar chill, the past clawing its way back into the present, threatening to rip apart the fragile strands of connection I had begun to reweave with Michael. I turned to face him, the garbled mix of emotions twisting my heart again, the walls I had built nearly faltering. This is what I was afraid of. The shadows are reaching for us. Together, he reaffirmed. Whatever it means, we face it together. As the figure loomed ever closer, a living reminder of my deepest regrets, I realized how pivotal this moment truly was. Would I turn back now, drowning in fear of the past, or summon the strength to confront it, pain and all? Our journey was just beginning, and I stood at the precipice, teetering between love and loss. As the echo of shadows called once more, my breath caught in my throat. The choice was looming, and I was terrified of what came next. The shadows loomed closer, as if the very air pulsed with a darkness so familiar I could hardly breathe. Each heartbeat threatened to drown me, yet I felt Michael's presence beside me, a beacon of unwavering strength amidst the chaos. This isn't just my fight, I murmured, raising my chin to confront the shadows that haunted me. It's ours. The voice of doubt slithered through my mind, whispering secrets of despair. Memories tangled in my heart, clawing to pull me under, but summoned by the weight of our connection, I stood resolute. Stand with me, I urged him, my voice stronger than I thought possible. Together, We faced the figure emerging from the darkness, its presence crackling with bitter memories and remnants of unspoken hurt. "You can't lure me back to the shadows," I declared, feeling the warmth of Michael's hand anchoring me against the storm of regret rising within me. The figure twisted, shifting into forms that haunted my mind. It was both a ghost and an echo, reflecting the pain I'd carried for too long. "You can't escape what you did," it hissed, the sounds twisting into a cacophony of laughter and sorrow that warped around us. "You could have saved me, yet here you are, running away." My heart cracked open under the heaviness of those words. "Stop!" I screamed out, feeling the pulse of grief surge through me. "I didn't know how to save you. I carry that regret every day." Tears brimmed in my eyes, each shimmering drop a reminder of the love I had once cherished, love that had been distorted by my fear of losing it again. But in this moment, something shifted. Each tear shed felt like a small release, the burden on my heart starting to lift as I confronted the specter of guilt. "You were a part of me," I whispered, the words releasing the shadow's grip. "But my love doesn't belong to the fear of what happened. It belongs to the joy of having known you. I loved you deeply, and it's time I let you go." The shadows pulsed with convulsing fury, trying to snuff that light, the truth that flickered within me. "You think you can simply forget me?" it screamed, its voice wrapping around my throat with an iron grip. But as the hurricane of memories swirled, I clenched Michael's hand tighter. "No, I won't forget you. They'll carry the love and the sorrow, but I will not be defined by them." Suddenly, Michael stepped forward, emboldened by my resolve. "You are not your past. None of it defines who you are today." His voice cut through the chaos, echoing powerfully against the shadows. The figure hesitated, the darkness shuddering at his declaration, flickering like a dying flame, and I knew this was our chance. "Stand with me," I called to Michael, and together, we stepped into the living embodiment of the darkness, allowing love to transcend the shadows. We will embrace the memories, the love, the pain, but we will not let it consume us. We choose to rise, with a newfound strength surging through us. Our combined resolve sent forth an unyielding light that pierced through the swirling shadows. As our declaration enveloped the darkness, fissures formed, bright rays mingling with the remnants of fear. The struggling shadows evaporated in flashes, unraveling before our gaze. "Feel the truth wash over you," I murmured, my voice steadying. "Feel the love that existed and the lessons that flowed from our heartbreak. Forgiveness and acceptance, not shame and guilt, are what will carry us into the light." And just like that, the trembling figure fell silent, collapsing into motes of glimmering stardust, the pain exorcised and transformed, leaving only love behind. The echoes began to quiet, and I felt the weight lifted, the shadows finally receding. But as the last whispers dispersed, I realized with a shocking clarity what had been lost. It was not just heartbreak I faced, but the fear of embracing the next steps in my own narrative, the love that still burned in the eyes of the one beside me. Turning toward Michael, I saw the light of our connection glowing like a shared heartbeat in between us, strong, steadfast, and unfaltering. "You've walked with me through the darkest parts of my heart," I whispered, warmth spreading in the space between us. "You remind me of who I can be, not bound by fear, but thriving despite it." Tears spilled down my cheeks as I spoke. "I've been afraid of loving again, of being vulnerable. But I choose to navigate this realm of uncertainty with you," I said, lifting my gaze. "Will you stand by me as we embrace the future together?" He smiled, a soft light radiating from his eyes. "Always. In the light and in the dark, we'll create our own story. Together we can carve a path." With that, I felt the warmth of love wrap around us both, weaving a cocoon that shielded against the remnants of despair. Ready to walk forward into the unknown. We had faced the shadows, embraced our truths, and emerged on the other side, a blossoming collection of shared stories. Woven together in love and resilience, I end that profound moment of clarity. I understood the true power of love. It was not the absence of fear, nor the flight from doubt, but a courageous partnership forged through acceptance and vulnerability. As we stepped forward, the forest parted with a burst of sunlight, illuminating an endless path ahead, and together, We would walk into whatever awaited, hand in hand, heart to heart, courageously embracing the twists and turns of our intertwined destinies. In the distance, a new dawn beckoned a promise that love was always worth the journey, that healing is possible, and that true connection could conquer even the darkest shadows within us. Sometimes, I thought, love is not just found. It's built through the courage to face everything that whispers in the dark. In that moment of clarity, I whispered the truth I had fought so hard to reclaim. I never imagined I'd find love in a small town after my life fell apart. But here we are, love becoming the light to guide me home.